In general, people do not enjoy having to give feedback about employee performance. This is particularly true for new managers, people who are new in leadership roles. It's an uncomfortable thing to do, let's face it. Today, we're going to talk about how you can use specific feedback to really get optimal performance in your employees without having to deal with all the friction that giving feedback can cause. So today I wanted to share a few questions that you can ask yourself as you're giving an employee feedback about their performance that can help guide how you give that feedback. Now, this can be used in an annual performance review, but frankly, it can be used any time that you need to address something that needs to change with an employee. And my recommendation is please don't hold things like that for the annual review. You know, any challenges regarding employee performance should be done in an ongoing manner. And I'm always so surprised to see when sometimes people will tell me that there's an employee they want to let go of because there's been performance challenges. And when I ask them how that has been addressed with the employee, they tell me that it hasn't been. Because although those conversations are awkward, that's really the responsibility of, a leader, or whether you're an entrepreneur, wherever you are. If you are managing a team of people, giving feedback about their performance is really part of your responsibility. So one of the questions to ask yourself is it necessary? Is it necessary to give this person feedback about this? Now, in some cases, yes, it is, and you might just feel uncomfortable doing so. So don't let you convince yourself to not give feedback by saying it's not necessary in cases that it actually is. But in other cases, I've seen where leaders may give feedback so often that people feel micromanaged, they feel irritated. So one of the questions is this really necessary? Is this one of the bigger fish that I need to fry? How much is this impacting team performance? Is this my own preferences about how it has to be done? Or is it actually something that is affecting performance and outcomes on a bigger level? So if it's not necessary, maybe don't address it. For those issues that are necessary to address, though, one of the other questions to ask yourself is, how am I going to give specific feedback to this person? So the feedback needs to be specific enough that the person understands exactly what it is that they need to improve. So for example, telling somebody you need to do better on your sales next month, okay, sure, they have an idea of what to do, but they probably need to have some help brainstorming through where that breakdown is coming from and what specific skill they need to work on to improve their sales at the end of the month. So make sure that your feedback is specific enough that they know what to work on. You also want to be sure that your feedback is given in a positive way. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't address any negative performance challenges. Of course you do, but you don't want to do it in a way that is belittling or demeaning or even inadvertently makes the person feel insecure. As best as possible, you want to provide feedback in a constructive manner. Tell the person that you've noticed there's some challenges. One way to make it more positive or better received is to ask the person before giving the feedback, can I share a few observations that I've had about your sales this month, as an example? Because now the person is saying yes, they've opened the door to that feedback. There's not going to be as much resistance. And then, of course, like I said, give it in a positive manner as much as possible. The other thing you want to focus on is that your feedback is solution-oriented. So you don't want to just be telling people what they did wrong and sort of criticizing and complaining the thing that needs to improve. You want it to be solution-oriented. So like I said earlier, helping the person work towards what is it that they can do to solve that problem. It may work well with some things to point out a challenge to somebody and they may know the solution right off, but oftentimes it's something they aren't aware of or they don't know how to do things any differently. And so when we can look at it from a solution-oriented lens, then we can work together to find actionable changes that person can work on implementing to bring about that larger change that you need. And then the last point is to make sure that advice is actionable. So sit down with the person and determine, how is this person going to put that advice in place? You have the specific advice now that is solution-oriented. How are we going to make it actionable? In what context is the person going to try this? By what date are they going to have tried it? You want to determine this collaboratively, so you don't want to tell them you need to have done X by X date, unless, of course, you're in performance management. But really, I think that the best way to get somebody motivated to get on board with these actionable measures is to hear what they have to say and have them also to contribute to the decision of how they're going to put that in place. And when you're able to approach feedback in this respect, it feels more like mentorship or guidance than it does a boss coming in telling you what you've done wrong and what you need to do better, which never feels very good, does it? So we want to approach it more as a relationship of, we're working together, I'm here to guide you, this is what I've observed, get feedback from them. At that point, when you've heard from them, you can give some advice or suggestions if they're open to it, and that's going to really increase the chances that your feedback isn't just thrown out as they walk out of your office, irritated that they were slapped on the hand.